Okay, so Mona, you have a outstanding career. I mean, I've been studying it obviously more so in the last few days, aside from our conversations that we have personally. You've always been someone that I find to be very, very professional and impressive individual. I think you've got such a eclectic career. It would be really interesting for you to talk us through that a little bit, because you've gone from some serious corporate roles with some of the largest consultancies in the world, to chief of staff at some serious crypto companies. So let's talk a little bit about your background and how you made that jump from corporate into Web3.
Yeah, happy to share that. And, I can only give that back. You're also very impressive founder and builder and go-getter. So yeah, very, very much, give that back to you. And I appreciate the kind words. Yeah, so to my journey, it's definitely not been linear. That's for sure. I don't know if you know these typical, memes or pictures where it says, a career is never like this. It's always like with a crazy little topsy-turvy, flywheel in the middle and left, right, up, down, and then somewhere ends up at the top there, hopefully. But yeah, that's kind of how I feel. So yes, I started out my career in London as a strategy consultant for about 4 years, working at PwC Strategy so very large, consulting company focused there specifically on strategy consulting. And actually really enjoyed my time as a consultant. I think doing that at the beginning of my career, when you have so much excitement and so much energy and I thought that was a very good start. Also, back then, it's actually quite a long time ago, believe it or not. At 2014, I started as a consultant. But I really, there were not as many, I think, opportunities as there are now. At least I think, young college grads were not encouraged to do as much entrepreneurial stuff as I think is standard now. But that's okay. I did enjoy my time in the consulting world, and I learned what I love about consulting, which was having to really think about different topics, different industries very quickly, learn them very well, and become an expert and an advisor in things very, very fast. So context switching, but also, really having an opinion, researching, and then also providing some sort of output, as well as analysis, was something that I did really enjoy. But I felt like, I couldn't have immediate impact, because you're kind of doing initial strategy work, and then you see what happens, if the company actually implements this or how they implement this. So I went actually after my consulting career, and I went back to Germany, and I started building out the European market for an education technology company, which now is a unicorn, actually. So it did really well. And my part in that, hopefully, was that, I helped them build out Europe, specifically Germany, Austria, Switzerland, German-speaking regions. And that was very interesting, because here I got to learn what I love about building a business, which was, having immediate impact, having direct decision-making power, and also being able to see the direct failures and the impact that makes, right? So having that responsibility was something that I really loved. And I actually thought about, okay, what career combines entrepreneurial spirit and exposure with kind of more, research and analytics, and ended up kind of thinking that venture capital is a perfect stage for this. And in order to get into venture capital, it wasn't an easy, it's not an easy job. It's not like you apply to thousands of companies, because there are not thousands of companies, and there are definitely not that many roles. So it was a challenge. And so I decided to do an MBA at INSEAD in Singapore and in France. and focused very much on, taking every venture capital and private equity course that I could get my hands on, and graduated right during the COVID pandemic. So that was a little bit tricky for sure. And remembered back when I was in my undergraduate that I had actually learned about Bitcoin back then. And the reason was I read the Bitcoin white paper during my undergraduate studies, and I realized what I really liked about this was the philosophy about banking the unbanked, about giving everyone an opportunity to participate in the financial markets. And that kind of always stuck with me. I probably wasn't brave enough back then to make a career out of the digital asset interest. But after my MBA during the COVID pandemic, I realized that actually I think this is the future. I think this is where we're going. And instead of going directly into venture, I decided to work as chief of staff, as you had mentioned, for a cryptocurrency fintech called Bitwala in Berlin. And to finish the story, after a year working with Bitwala, I received an offer to work for a German venture fund, which is Tocantins Investments, and started initially as an investment manager, and then became the head of investments for the company, which I am still working with today, but also have expanded, my mandate across working also with a hedge fund called Edge Capital, where I'm the venture partner looking at a lot of the venture deals, and building out another arm with Edge Capital as well. And as mentioned, also work with Hub 71. So really started to use all the knowledge I have built, all the connections I have built, similar to what you do, to try to provide value across a variety of different areas, because I think, we can do so much and really, use our knowledge, use our network across a variety of different things. And here we are. This is where I ended up.
Amazing. It's a truly amazing story. So you actually leveraged Web3 to enter the space that you wanted to be in, and you found that the MBA was a big part of that. Is it something you would recommend for people? I'd love to hear a little bit more about the MBA side.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a really good point, actually. Very, very attentive for you to pick that up. I think one point was that actually having a niche interest, having niche knowledge in something like the blockchain technology space really helped to enter the venture capital space, because I really think that this gave me an edge, right? This gave me an opportunity to showcase my knowledge of an industry within an investor role, rather than being a financial services professional first. So I can really advise, if you want to go into venture capital and you have a niche interest or a strong industry focus prior, that is a great way to enter the space and really look at VCs that are actually investing in the space that you have specific expertise in, ideally also real hands-on experience. And then the MBA, to get back to your question, the MBA was really fundamental for me, I think, in terms of network. I really think that the MBA network, INSEAD, for those who don't know, it's a global MBA school. It has a variety of campuses, including Abu Dhabi as well. And it's a very, very great way to build a really international network. And that has helped me a lot in the venture space. I would also say a lot of people, I think, are skeptical of MBAs, which I also understand, to be fair. I think that the arguments against an MBA are good. But I also saw a lot of my classmates, a lot of my wonderful friends that I made there, who really used the MBA to change their career completely, right? And go into something completely different. And without it, it probably would have been a lot harder for them, maybe even impossible. So if you are somebody who wants to change their career and might need a few building blocks of knowledge that are missing, doing an MBA, I think, is a really good way to actually, work a little bit alongside get internships again in that industry, even if you're already, have 6, 7, 8 years of work experience, but then still have an opportunity to almost start on a blank slate, but in a more senior position in the industry that you want to go into, like VC.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess you already had the core fundamental skills of being able to assess businesses very quickly because of your consulting. So that's kind of why I was like, I wonder what it was that needed to have the MBA to maybe enter that world. So it sounds like the network was a big part of it, because it sounds like you probably could have done the work prior, you know?
I think the funny thing in this world is, and I think it is changing. I think these things are really rapidly changing. But when we look at, the time that I was in, and still relevant to some degree today, people really wanted to hire someone as a venture capitalist who had an investment banking background. And it was like almost like you had a prescribed, CV that made you a good analyst, whereas the reality of venture capital, specifically for early stage businesses, is there's no numbers to evaluate, right?
Yeah.
Not in the depth of a pre-IPO company, because the company probably doesn't even exist yet, or at least has a few customers, but very, very basic P&L. So long story short, I think the MBA just gave that stamp of approval, really. Whereas I really hope and I really think that this is actually changing nowadays, and people are much more open to people across all kinds of backgrounds, versus having like you have to have a financial services background in order to become a venture capitalist, which to me still to this day makes absolutely no sense.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, how I've worked with projects has been actually just getting them in a position where they are able to raise capital. They look professional, they understand what their product market fit is, and we've raised significant amount of capital for our clients. But have I got a huge venture capital background? No, but I understand very deeply what products are going to be adopted on both retail and institutional. So I think it's a very interesting landscape, and definitely changing just as businesses become more modern in tech as well. I mean, yeah, it's going to become multifaceted, I think, as we move forward. And